So here's a bit of a paradox for you.
Mm.
We live in this era of just unprecedented wealth and, technological convenience, yet our vacations are more hyper-scheduled than ever.
Oh, yeah.
Our leisure time feels incredibly frantic, like we're constantly trying to do, I don't know, three things at once during our time off.
Right, yeah. It is, well, it's the ultimate irony of modern economies. We
Yeah.
built all this machinery for a leisure society,
Yeah.
only to realize we might actually be working harder simply to play faster.
To play faster,
Right.
exactly. And untangling that machinery, that is our mission for this deep dive. Today, we are opening up the hood on the multi-billion-dollar global recreation industry.
Mm.
We're looking at Chapter 1 of John Tribe's textbook, The Economics of Recreation, Leisure, and Tourism. And since most of you listening are staring down upper-level courses or, maybe actively working in this sector, we're going to bypass the basic Econ 101 definition.
Right, the stuff you already know.
Yep. Exactly. Instead, we are focusing strictly on the analytical toolkit. So how concepts like scarcity, opportunity cost, market systems, and marginal analysis actually dictate how society plays, travels, and rests.
Yeah, it's the underlying engine of it all.
Right. But to do that, we first have to figure out what we are actually measuring.
Yes, the boundary problem. The textbook really tries to put analytical fences around three words we use every single day, right?
Yeah.
So leisure, recreation, and tourism.
Right.
And on the surface, the taxonomy seems pretty simple. Leisure is discretionary time. So the hours left over after paid work, commuting, sleep, and, necessary chores.
Yeah, the stuff you have to do.
Yes, exactly. Then recreation covers the specific pursuits you undertake during that discretionary time.
Okay.
And tourism is defined by movement. So visiting a destination outside your normal home and workplace for at least one night, whether that's for leisure or business.
Right. But let me push back on those fences right away, because what about, say, a software engineer who writes indie game code on the weekends, just for fun?
Oh.
That clearly overlaps with their paid employment skills, but they are doing it in their discretionary time. Or, consider someone on medical leave recovering from a surgery.
Yeah.
They aren't working, but is sick time really leisure time? It feels like right away the edges get incredibly blurry.
Yeah, they do. And you've hit on exactly why this isn't just, academic throat clearing.
Right.
How we draw these boundaries fundamentally alters official macroeconomic statistics.
Really? How so?
Well, it decides what qualifies as a recreation, leisure, and tourism sector organization,
Hmm.
or RLT for short, which is basically an entity that produces goods and services for leisure use or tries to influence that use.
Oh, I see.
So if we classify that software engineer's weekend coding as a hobby, any software they buy for it becomes a leisure expenditure.
Right. It goes in a different bucket.
Exactly. And if we classify sick leave as non-leisure, well, then hospital entertainment systems drop out of the RLT sector entirely.
Oh, wow. So we're talking about billions of dollars literally shifting columns on a spreadsheet just based on a definition.
Trillions, actually.
Yeah.
Globally. The text highlights how massive this footprint really is. Like on islands like Bermuda and the Bahamas.
Oh, yeah.
Tourism accounts for a staggering 50% of total economic activity. 50%.
That is massive.
Right. So if your definitions are sloppy, you completely miscalculate the economic weight of an entire nation.
Wow.
So to prevent that, economists rely on a three-part taxonomy to categorize the actual activity.
Okay. What are the parts?
You've got home-based recreation like gardening,
Sure.
recreation away from home like visiting a local theme park for the afternoon,
Okay.
and then travel and tourism, which specifically requires that overnight stay.
Right. The overnight part is key. So once we categorize the activity, we have to look at the engine driving all of it. And that engine is the fundamental economic problem of scarcity.
Yes.
I actually want to build a running case study for us today to really test these tools as we go.
Oh, I like that. Let's do it.
So imagine a coastal town, right?
Mm.
With a stretch of really pristine, undeveloped coastline. And a developer comes in and wants to build a massive new luxury eco-resort on it.
That is the perfect scenario to analyze this. Because look, in a world of unlimited resources, the town could just have the resort and they could maintain a massive pristine forest next to it and perhaps, I don't know, build a new public hospital on the other side.
Right, they could have everything.
Everything. But resources, meaning land, labor, and capital, they are finite. Yet human wants, incredibly, are not.
That's such a crucial point. Because I think it's easy to think of scarcity merely as poverty, like
Yeah.
not having enough food. But it applies to the top of the market just as much.
Oh, absolutely. The unsatisfied wants of the wealthiest individuals drive a massive portion of the tourism sector.
Yeah.
Even when basic needs for food and shelter are met tenfold, there is a limitless appetite for more property, luxury holidays, exclusive experiences.
Right, there's always a bigger yacht.
Exactly. And because wants are infinite and resources are finite, every society has to answer three basic choice questions.
Hmm.
What are we going to produce? How are we going to produce it? And to whom will those goods be allocated?
Which means every time our coastal town answers one of those questions, they're paying an opportunity cost.
Yes.
Because choosing one path means actively destroying another option. The textbook defines opportunity cost as the alternative or opportunity that must be foregone to achieve a particular thing.
Right.
So if the town council approves the eco-resort on that land, the opportunity cost isn't the millions of dollars spent on concrete and labor. The true economic opportunity cost is whatever else that land, labor, and capital could have been used for.
Exactly.
So say a public park or affordable housing for local residents.
And you cannot just tax your way out of opportunity cost. That's a huge misconception.
Yeah, explain that, because I think a lot of people assume the government can just pay for both.
Right. A really common political refrain is that a government can just raise revenue to do both. Like, we'll build the housing in a resort somewhere else.
Just increase the budget.
Right. But raising taxes doesn't magically manifest new resources. It merely shifts the pain.
Oh, I see.
If you tax the local population to fund new projects, those individuals now have less disposable income. Their personal opportunity cost might be the family vacation they can no longer afford.
Oh, wow. So the scarcity doesn't disappear.
No, the scarcity merely relocates. It goes from the public sector to the private household.
That is a fascinating way to look at it. Now, to visualize this trade-off, the text introduces something called the Production Possibility Frontier, or PPF.
Right, the PPF.
It's a graph and map of the maximum output of two categories, say leisure goods on one axis and other goods on the other axis. And this assumes all resources are fully and efficiently utilized.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm looking at this PPF graph in the text right now, and honestly, it's frustrating me a little.
Why is that?
Well, the curve isn't a straight line. It bows outward. But if an economy shifts production from other goods to leisure goods, shouldn't it just be a one-to-one trade-off? Why the curve?
Right. You would expect a straight line if resources were perfectly adaptable, but they aren't.
Okay.
Think of a commercial kitchen trying to produce both pizzas and salads.
Okay, I'm with you.
If you decide to make nothing but pizzas, you pull every single worker onto the ovens. But your salad prep cooks are terrible at tossing dough.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah. As you push closer and closer to maximum pizza production, you are forcing resources, so your labor and your equipment, into roles they are highly inefficient at.
So I end up sacrificing like 50 salads just to get one more mediocre pizza.
Exactly. That is the law of increasing opportunity cost.
Ah, okay.
The land, labor, and capital best suited for manufacturing leisure goods, like tennis rackets, are incredibly inefficient if you force them to provide elder care or build affordable housing.
That makes total sense.
And the textbook gives a very clean mathematical example to prove this. Imagine an economy moves from producing 0 leisure goods to 100 units of leisure goods.
Okay.
Well, because they use the resources best suited for leisure first, the production of other goods only drops slightly, say from 600 units down to 580 units.
Got it. Meaning the opportunity cost of producing those first 100 leisure units is exactly 20 units of other goods.
Yes.
It's a very tangible way to measure what you are sacrificing.
It is.
But if building this resort means giving up affordable housing and the opportunity costs get increasingly steep like that, who actually gets to make that call? Like, does the town council dictate it, or does whoever has the most capital win?
Well, that takes us straight into allocative mechanisms. Macroeconomics categorizes 3 primary systems that countries use to distribute these scarce recreation and tourism resources.
Okay, what are the 3?
First, you have the free market economy, which is driven by private ownership, the profit motive, and the price mechanism. Second, the centrally planned economy, where state planning committees dictate production and they allocate the resources.
Okay.
And finally, the mixed economy, which realistically is the middle ground combining private enterprise with government intervention.
And we see the shift between these mechanisms constantly, right? I mean, the text brings up the historical privatization of British Airways and the British Airports Authority,
Oh, yes.
because for decades, those were state-controlled entities.
The transition of British Airways is a masterclass in why allocative mechanisms shift.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because centrally planned systems historically struggle with what's called the information problem.
The information problem.
Right. Without organic price signals to indicate what consumers actually want, state committees are essentially just guessing.
Oh, because they don't have real-time feedback from people actually spending their own money.
Exactly. So by privatizing, the UK government shifted the allocative mechanism to the free market. The goal was to harness the price mechanism to create severe cost discipline and to enforce consumer sovereignty,
Consumer sovereignty.
which is the idea that consumer demand ultimately dictates what a company produces.
But, and this is important, the textbook is very careful to present the counter frameworks here too.
Yes, it is.
Because consumer sovereignty sounds incredibly democratic, right? Like every dollar is a vote for what gets produced.
Sure.
But the glaring critique is that purchasing power is heavily unequal. I mean, if you don't have the cash, you don't get a vote.
That is the core of the Marxist critique provided in the text.
Right.
You have a conflict between the bourgeoisie, who own the property and the capital, and the proletariat, the workers who don't.
Yeah.
From a strict Marxist framework, the free market does not serve the collective good. It serves the owners of capital.
So if we apply that to our coastal town, the free market might determine that a luxury eco-resort is the most quote-unquote efficient use of the land, simply because wealthy tourists can pay a premium.
Yes, exactly.
But the local workers, who might prefer a public park, they lose out simply because their collective purchasing power cannot outbid the developers.
Right. And it's vital to note here, the textbook presents both the capitalist free market defenses and the Marxist critiques purely as analytical lenses.
Right. Absolutely. We aren't endorsing either political ideology here.
No, not at all.
We are just utilizing them as structural frameworks to understand why certain leisure goods get produced over others.
Exactly.
So let's drill down into the microeconomic tools we use to analyze these decisions on a smaller scale.
Okay.
Because if I am the developer deciding how big to build this resort, I am heavily relying on marginal analysis.
Oh, definitely. Marginal analysis is arguably the most powerful tool in microeconomics.
Yeah.
It's based on a really simple rule for rational decision-making. You maximize benefit, where marginal benefit equals marginal cost, or MB equals MC.
Okay, let's apply that to the developer. They are deciding whether to add one more luxury cabin to the resort plan. The marginal benefit is the expected revenue from that single extra cabin.
Right.
And the marginal cost is the construction and maintenance of that single extra cabin.
Yeah.
So as long as the revenue outpaces the cost, they just keep building.
Exactly. And the moment the cost of building the next cabin exceeds what a tourist will pay to sleep in it, they stop.
It's so clean when you put it like that.
Well, it governs firm behavior,
Yeah.
but consumers do it instinctively too.
Yeah.
You apply marginal analysis every single time you decide whether to stay one more day on a vacation
Yeah.
or, even when you're binge watching a television show at midnight.
Oh, absolutely. The binge watching one is so real. The next episode autoplays, right? The marginal benefit is the entertainment of finding out what happens next.
Right.
But the marginal cost is the extreme exhaustion I am going to feel in my morning meeting the next day.
Exactly.
So the rational economic moment to turn off the TV is the exact second that exhaustion outweighs the entertainment.
That is MB equals MC in action. Now, to map out behavioral logic like that on a larger scale, economists have to build models.
Right.
Economics relies on the scientific method, hypothesis, testing, amendment, and rejection. But we're dealing with human behavior here, not physics.
Yeah, humans are messy.
Very. We cannot perfectly predict what a million tourists are going to do.
Which is why models require assumptions, right?
Right.
We have to simplify the messy reality to test a specific theory.
Yes. Take the model of perfect competition. If an economist uses it to study the hotel market, the model assumes that the rooms sold by different firms are identical and that consumers have perfect information.
Now, we know that isn't entirely true in the real world. A room at the Ritz is clearly different from a highway motel.
Right.
But the simplification allows us to isolate specific market mechanics.
And the ultimate tool for that isolation is the condition of ceteris paribus.
Ceteris paribus, Latin for all other things remaining unchanged. Let's say we hypothesize that if our island resort raises its nightly rate by 20%, demand will drop. In the real world, maybe they raise the rate, but that same week, a massive viral social media campaign makes the resort the hottest destination on Earth.
Right. TikTok gets a hold of it.
Exactly, so demand actually skyrockets despite the price increase.
Because the real world is incredibly noisy. Ceteris paribus allows economists to isolate the effect of just one variable, so the price increase, by holding all other variables constant in their analysis.
Okay.
It basically provides a controlled mental environment to say, assuming income, trends, and competitor prices remain exactly the same, this specific price increase will lower demand.
Okay, so models help us map out how the market functions in a vacuum.
Yeah.
But as we discussed earlier, we live in mixed economies.
We do?
The government is constantly stepping in, often ignoring the pure market models. So how do we separate the objective math from the political opinions about how leisure should be managed?
That is a great question. And it requires distinguishing between positive and normative statements.
Okay.
This trips up policy analysts constantly, actually. A positive statement is testable, and it's based on empirical fact.
Now, the textbook uses a brilliantly absurd example for this. Pigs can fly.
Right.
That is a positive statement. Now, it happens to be entirely false, but it is positive because you can empirically test it and prove it wrong.
Exactly. A more relevant positive statement would be, subsidizing public pools decreases local rates of heart disease.
Because you can measure that.
You can run the data. A normative statement, conversely, is based on value judgments, ethics, or opinions. So every town ought to have a public pool.
Right. You cannot scientifically prove the word ought.
No, you can't.
And it is normative judgments that drive most government intervention in the leisure sector, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Governments intervene to subsidize what economists call merit goods.
Merit goods.
Things like national parks, museums, or local arts programs.
Because the free market might underproduce these since they aren't wildly profitable.
Right. But the government steps in because society has made a normative judgment that these goods elevate the population.
Right. Good for us.
Exactly. Governments also intervene to correct externalities. These are the unintended side effects of production or consumption that impact third parties.
Like the noise pollution from a new airport runway?
That's a classic negative externality. The market price of the airline ticket only covers the fuel, the labor, and the plane. It does not reflect the cost of the noise pollution inflicted on the people living near the airport.
Yeah.
So the free market fails to price in that damage.
But you also have positive externalities, right?
You do. If the government subsidizes a fitness center, the primary benefit goes to the people lifting weights.
Yeah.
But the secondary benefit, so a generally healthier population, well, that might lower overall public health costs for the entire tax base.
Ah, I see. Which brings us to a really profound boundary line for the entire discipline. Economics gives us the tools to analyze the negative externality of the airport or, calculate the opportunity cost of the fitness center. But does it actually tell us if the outcome is good?
That's the big question.
Like if our coastal town has to choose between the luxury eco-resort and the pristine forest, can economics tell them the right choice?
It cannot.
Wow.
It really can't. Economics provides functional knowledge, right? It is knowing how.
Knowing how.
It can analyze the mechanisms, deciding which leisure goods get produced, how they are priced, and who gets to consume them.
Yeah.
But it struggles with disciplinary knowledge, knowing that. Economics is fundamentally silent on what should be produced or what kind of leisure society is morally or ethically desirable.
It tells you the most efficient way to build the resort, but it can't tell you if society's soul is better off with the resort or the undisturbed trees.
Beautifully put. To answer those questions, economics has to sit alongside sociology, psychology, and philosophy. It is just one toolkit among many.
Man, we've covered immense ground today.
You really have.
We tackled the boundary problem of defining leisure and tourism and how those definitions literally dictate macroeconomic data.
Yep.
We explored scarcity, mapping out opportunity cost, and resource adaptability using that production possibility frontier.
The pizza and the salad.
Exactly. We analyzed allocative systems from the free market to central planning, the micro tools of marginal analysis and ceteris paribus, and finally, that vital distinction between testable positive facts and normative moral judgments.
It's a robust foundation.
It really is. But as we wrap up, I want to return to the mystery we opened with.
Okay.
Why, with all this economic machinery perfectly designed to maximize our benefit, why does our time off feel so incredibly stressful?
Right. The answer lies in a concept introduced by Staffan Linder in the source material, the harried leisure class.
The harried leisure class.
It perfectly bridges economic theory with our lived experience, and it actually utilizes the very concept of opportunity cost we discussed earlier.
The harried leisure class. I mean, it sounds like a contradiction. How can the leisure class be harried?
Well, it's because of the math behind their wages.
Okay.
Linder points out that as earnings per hour increase in a highly developed economy, the opportunity cost of not working skyrockets.
Oh. Oh, I see. So if a consultant makes $300 an hour, taking a 3-hour nap on a Tuesday afternoon carries an opportunity cost of $900.
Precisely.
Wow.
Because your time is literally worth more money, the cost of doing nothing feels economically punitive.
Right.
Therefore, rational individuals are tempted to do one of two things.
Okay.
They either work more to capture that high wage, or, when they do take leisure, they attempt to consume it much more intensely to ensure they're getting a high yield on their valuable time.
Oh my gosh, that perfectly explains the hyper-scheduled vacation.
Yes.
You can't just sit on the beach. You have to do the jet skis at 10 a.m., the zip line at noon, and the cultural tour at 3 p.m. because you subconsciously need the value of the leisure to match the massive opportunity cost of taking the days off work.
Exactly. We are surrounded by a leisure society of immense wealth, but the mechanics of opportunity cost have created the paradox of unleisurely leisure.
We truly are working harder simply to play faster.
Yeah.
That concept is going to stick with me. I mean, we started this deep dive talking about boundaries and macro statistics, but as you look at your own calendar this weekend, you realize you are navigating these exact economic forces every single hour.
Every choice you make.
Right. When you decide whether to read a book, answer an email, or go to a theme park, you are weighing opportunity costs and wrestling with the harried leisure class paradox.
It's unavoidable.
Something to really mull over the next time you try to decide if you have the time to just do nothing. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.